Hello, racing fans. Welcome back to the channel. We are back again for another episode in the series. We are less than 2 weeks away now from the Cheltenham Festival. We have done we've done one big episode for the handicaps pre-weight, but now that we have some of the weights for the races, we thought we'd find five selections each for the handicaps. And we thought it was only right that we brought in reinforcements. Really delighted to have you back on the channel, Adam. How's things? You well?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for having me back on.
No, thanks for giving us your time. Is this anywhere near your forte, Adam? Most people know you for the French racing, of course, but
Yeah, I like having a good sort of study of Cheltenham, going through it at this time of year. I'm kind of glad with the handicaps. I normally wait for the weights. It'd
mm.
be nice to have a few more entries, but this is kind of like if you can't get excited about Cheltenham, what are you doing watching racing? And luckily, the French racing hasn't really started yet, so we've still got a bit of time.
Well, really glad to have you on. Thanks again for giving us your time, Adam. And we'll check in with the boys. Jamie Wrenn, how are you?
Good now, looking forward to this. Yeah, I have a good
You
few five gyms, hopefully.
yeah, good. Have you had these on the radar previously? Any new ones
Yeah, yeah.
in the
No,
odds
no,
here?
I'd say the five nailed down.
Mm.
Yeah,
What about you, Jamie? Are you betting on the handicaps just yet? Pre weights, after weights? I know I wish I bided my time a little bit more myself.
yeah. The third horse, Joe, is the third horse in my like going from 5-4 to three is
Yeah, yeah.
definitely the third horse is definitely one I've been topping up on since the weight. Yeah.
Good stuff, mate. Nice one. And Liam, you love the handicaps, mate, so you must be looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, I've already dipped my toe in the water with a few of them already, early part of the season. I appreciate some might rather wait for the weights, but I think you can kind of decipher potentially what would be bottom weight. I know it's
Yes.
difficult to understand exactly what each horse is going to be carrying in each of them. But yeah, so some familiar names may crop up, mate.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we're going to go through them. Five each. Going to start at number five and then narrow it down effectively to our number one. I'm not going to go through stats and things like that. We've done an episode based on that. We're just going to go through and find our five selections. I think the place to start with, Adam, if you don't mind, are you happy to bring us some of your first selection?
Yeah, so we'll go first. I mean, there's a sort of running theme for mine that I've kind of realised this year. There's so many plot jobs that I think you've got to take into account that there's lots of horses haven't shown their hand. So I've gone for some unexposed ones. The
Good
first
stuff.
one comes in the Pertemps, which is Melbourne Shamrock, trained by Emmett Mullins for the Whaley Cohens. He qualified in the final Pertemps qualifier at the weekend at Naas. That was his fifth start over hurdles. Quite an interesting horse, really. He was third in a bumper at the Punchestown Festival in May 2024. Made his debut over hurdles in the December of that year, but he obviously had an issue. He pulled up. We didn't see him for 341 days. I think after his first start at Thurles this year, they quickly decided this was a 3 mile handicap and they wanted to get him down to a mark. Three relatively promising runs, finished fourth, second, and fourth in three Irish maiden hurdles, but he made his handicap debut for mark 121 in that Pertemps qualifier at Naas. Now, this was probably the worst Pertemps qualifier that's been run in Ireland for some time. It was equivalent to sort of some of those ones they run at places like Musselburgh, where you have very few runners and very few that are even going to qualify. But he got the better of the right horses. Manella 6-0 on the ropes, made a little bit of hard work of it, but I like the way he stayed on after the last. He ultimately won by a neck. He's got a bit of Irish tax thrown in, but a mark of 132 looks very fair. He's completely unexposed. He's by a sire called Hillstar. Wouldn't be necessarily known for his superstars, but they do have a lot of stamina. This horse, interestingly, was given an Albert Bartlett entry when he was running in maiden hurdles, so they obviously think a lot
Okay.
of him. I think they've got him well handicapped, and I don't like the shape of the Pertemps. I think those at the head of the market have shown their hand too much, and I
Mm.
think this lad's completely unexposed, and if he runs, will be a decent bit of value.
Lovely. Thank you very much. There's number one from Adam. Interested. It'd be nice to see the Whaley Cohen colours, wouldn't it, with the winner at Cheltenham again? I suppose the last one's probably long draw, unless long run, unless anyone can think of another one. I'm sure that's probably
The one, the
the
one, the
last.
Grenache.
Ah, yeah, Noble Yates, of course. There you go. Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
Two. Yeah, lovely. All right, Jamie. Who is your number five, please?
I'm gonna go with the cross country, Joe. I can't believe that Desert Morehouse stayed in the same mark as 140. I know, look, it's a specialist thing with Fabry de Shampoo off 157 and 162 with Stumptown, but I can't see Stumptown and Fabry de Shampoo Stumptown has to give £22 to Desamore House for Brazil, and has to like for every Deschamps has to give £17 to Desamore House.
It
11 to
does
2
sound
each
it does
way.
sound a lot, when you put it like that. That does sound a lot.
It's massive. Obviously, Desamore House has won a Kerry National. He's run second last year in the Latouche Cup, a Punchestown behind Bustleton. Look, Bustleton doesn't like. Look, you're taking a massive chance. Obviously, when it comes to that, Desamore House has never been around the track. But look, £22, £17 is a lot, regardless if it's a specialist thing. But I think 11 to 2, 6 to 1 each way. Desamore House has to be worth a bet each way in the cross country, and it definitely I'm going to take on the top two. So Desamore House be number 5 for me.
Yep, fair case made there from Jamie for Desert Moor House. And Liam,
I've gone mental, completely mental.
we know, mate. We
The
already know.
Irish can win the Ultima. So that's where I'm going to start in the Ultima, and it's a horse for Henry de Bromhead, who obviously always has his horses bang right come Cheltenham. He's campaigned this horse exclusively at Cheltenham all season. He's run at 3 of the first meetings. He's got a decent record, hardly ever been seen outside the frame at Cheltenham. It's the short go. I think he's potentially been lined up for this. I know that the Irish don't have a fantastic record. He's been given £7, I think, by the handicapper in Britain, coming back over here, but he's got some decent form behind Blaze the Way, who's obviously another Irish horse who's lined up potentially for a couple of handicaps during the week. But I think potentially this horse is actually still well in. That record round Cheltenham I think is really attractive. Some that have seen some support towards the top of the market, the likes of Handstands. I know that Ben Pauling was quite bullish on his potential chances running off potentially a top weight. I couldn't have him myself. I think there's potentially a bit of a breathing issue with him. Obviously, it's going to be an unbelievably competitive race. I did actually do a piece for Odds Checker on Cheltenham first. So 7 potential outcomes over the course of this year that might come to fruition. Now, I know the Irish have won this before, but they may as well not have. It's been that bloody long, hasn't it? But so yeah, I think potentially they can go very close in here with
Liam,
Henry's
what was the
horse.
last horse from Ireland to win it?
It was a horse ridden by Ruby for a guy. Oh, it was an AJ Martin horse, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
It was in my article, Jamie. I still can't remember.
Dundera.
So yeah, hopefully this will be the next one.
Cool, lovely, nice one there, Liam. I'm just going to kick off nice, short and sweet with my first one because I have actually tipped him up at 20 to 1 already, and it was Stormheart. I actually thought he was going to miss out on that Coral Cup entry, but they actually kept him on a marker 151 for Cheltenham, and that's just about workable. I'm not going to go into too much detail about his form, but he is a horse that came over with a big reputation when he came over to join Willie Mullins as a juvenile. I think he finished second in the spring juvenile ahead of Madgeborough as well. He split Cargesi and Madgeborough, I think, if I remember right. But it was his performance last time out when they stepped him up to 2 mile 5 for the very first time. And he's only a little horse, which is a slight concern if it gets too soft, but he seemed to travel nicely. And when he was asked to quicken, his response was nice, quick, sharp, and snappy. He's got a similar profile to Jimmy DeSoy, not in the sense that they're similar type of horses, but they come here with similar marks and in the basis that they've actually probably not shown enough of their true ability yet. So even though 151 is a high mark, I think it's still workable. 12 to 1 now is a lot shorter than when I initially put him up, but I just wanted to get him in there in my top 5 because I still think he has a cracking chance. Should we go reverse order this time? Liam, are you happy to run it back that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So my next set's just going to come in the plate. A race that people obviously have, a lot of people have latched onto Madara. Evidently been laid up for the race by the Skeletons, been really well supported. Of course, this race is now on Handicap Day, what was formerly known as Champions Day on the Tuesday, but now it's very much just full of handicap races. Madara, obviously, no one can put you off. You know, the Skeletons have laid the horse out for it. There's a horse I've liked a fair while, and I think potentially will go for this race as opposed to going for the Jack Richards. Still is actually a novice, but has ran some really good races at Cheltenham. Finished third at 66 to 1 in the Jack Richards last season for Rich Ritchie and Willie Mullins. So again, people might be screaming, thinking, what are you doing, Liam, tipping a Willie Mullins horse in a handicap chase? He's yet to win one.
Yeah.
Sending over 50 horses to these contests. However, I think that he's got a decent chance. He then followed that up in April, finishing second behind Risking the Ground, who was well handicapped for the Skeltons. And he's ran some nice races this season over a longer trip. He finished fifth in that race at Christmas that Favre de Champdou went from the front and wasn't for catching when he was sent off at a massive price. He's not had an awful lot applied from the British handicapper. And as I've mentioned, some older horses have come to the fore in this race. So while people are looking for the up and coming horse, even though he's a 9-year-old, in the last four renewals, we've had two 10-year-olds and an 11-year-old go and win this. So I definitely think he's potentially still more progressive, and maybe he can break the Willie Mullins curse. He's available at a nice price, around about 33 to 1. If you back that non-running no bet, just in case he does still choose to go for that novice handicap, then obviously you'll get your money back should he not turn up. But I'm quite a fan of this O'Moore Park, and I think perhaps going a little bit under the radar when Willie won't really have an awful lot going in handicap chases. So yeah, O'Moore Park in the plate on day one, Joe, about 33s.
Perfect. Lovely. Thanks very much, Liam. Jamie, number 4, please.
Number 4 to come in the Fred Winter. I think it's
Oh,
obvious who I'm going to
brave.
say. You know who I'm going to say after Marker 126, got £4 lower than Saratoga. It's Munsif, obviously very eye catching in Leopardstown. Travel like the best horse in the race. Leopardstown, he's made at Christmas. Fourth behind, who I think will win the Triumph, Macho Man. Then all of a sudden, then ran the last day, and we all know what happened behind Saratoga. 126. He's 10 to 1 now, I think, best price, Joe. I backed him at 25 to 1. I think he's a cracking bet. Look, we all know there's about 10, 12 horses we're going to be trying in the trying. I'm going to say trying in the Triumph, but trying in the Triumph 2.0 in the Fred Winter. But I think Munsif, he's been laid out for the race all year, and look, he's a good jumper. I think he's a better jumper than Saratoga, regardless of what Saratoga has done. Yeah, I'm all over it for the Fred Winter. So it's Munsif for me. 10 to 1 each way. I couldn't bet anyone off. I've had a good bet in it. I think I've been on it about it all year. So I think
Hmm.
Munster for the Frey Winter is my fourth selection.
Good on you, James. Glad you got a fancy in that because it's a race I certainly struggle in. Adam, who's next on the list for you?
Oh, this is really embarrassing. We should have compared notes before. Next on the list for me is a horse called Munsif, who runs a.
Oh, there you go.
I
There
can't. I
you go.
can't really add too much. He's a 93 weight flat horse. I've been watching him on his 3 starts. Every single start, the sectional times suggest this horse may improve for.
Application of cash, Adam.
Yeah, application of cash. At Fairy
Uh,
House, his 13th furlong was 13.75 seconds faster than the winner. At Leopardstown, his 12th furlong was 14.25 seconds. That was faster than the winner. And at Nace, his 13th furlong was 13.85 seconds, which was also faster than the winner. It was quickening and should have closed and didn't. I'll let you decide why he didn't close. But I do think he's got away with this. I think everyone has seen Saratoga and they've missed the fact that this horse was just carefully handicapped behind him 126. I like to add £40 to a flat horse, so that wouldn't put him on 123, 133. He's on 126. I think the more money comes, the better, and I'd be stunned if he doesn't go off 6 to 1, 11 to 2. So tens or bigger, fill your boots.
Love it. 2 for Muncie. Have to take note of that, guys. Okay, well, my next selection is going to come in the Kim Muir, and it's actually going to be Kim Rock. A really interesting runner here for Joseph O'Brien. Came over from France, as you'll well know, Adam, from Daniel Melliard. Actually had plenty of experience already before coming to Joseph O'Brien. But I do think it's quite significant that on his first start for the yard, they were quite happy to pitch him in into the novice handicap chase at Cheltenham over 2.5. He was only just beaten by Cados and Frey, but they then went to the December Gold Cup with him, and he was only 8 lengths behind Glenn Gooley, showing a little bit of an experience sort of later on in the race. Next time out, obviously, at the Dublin Racing Festival, he ran a good race behind Batney Al Satmi, finishing 5 lengths fifth. And he was actually sort of improving that day. It was a bit of a switch around performance from what we saw the day before and to the last day. A marker 131 has to be ahead of his ability. And I just think a race like the Kim Muir is going to suit his running style. He's not really a horse that's got like a snappy turn of foot or anything like that. He's a bit of a galloper, got enough speed. Just reminds me of an ideal Kim Muir sort at 16 to 1. Okay, Jamie Wrenn, number 3.
Number 3 will come in the Carling Cup. we're going back for the new line and the final demand thing. I think he was unchanged at 155. I think we all know that Gordon Elliott says he wants a claim off him, so it would be Josh Williamson or Michael Keneally. What I will say, Michael Keneally won the Bective Stud Handicap Hurdle, Tea Gardens Hurdle at
Mm.
Navan this year on Gringo de Broy in a handicap hurdle at Navan. And Michael Keneally obviously was claiming seven, so now he claims five, so that's 150. Look, Currie Cup horses, to me, Joe, you're either well handicapped like Langer Dan or you're a classy horse. So like Whisper,
Jimmy DeSoy
William
and stuff like
Henry,
that.
Wicklow, Brave, and the whole lot always come into thing.
Mm.
That horse of Paul Nicholson 1 years ago, I can't think of his name. Oh, Petit Small. So look, you're either well handicapped or you're a classy horse. I think if he gets the £5 claim, Dale O'Clay, he's 14 to 1 each way at the moment. I back to the 40s to win the Coral Cup. I think, look, the way he travelled the last day in the race with Tupu, Bob Ollinger, there's lo and behold that he doesn't stay 3 miles. He looked the best horse for 2.5 miles, and then all of a sudden there might have been a problem, but he travelled like the best horse in the race for 2.5 miles in the 3 mile grade one at Leopardstown. So I can't put anybody off. You know what Gordon is going to do? You're taking the claim off 155 to 150. He's a cracking bet each way at 14 to 1. So the yellow clay all day in the Coral Cup.
Perfect. Adam.
Well, Jamie, Wrenn, and I agree on some things, and others we definitely don't. And in the cross country, we are going to clash considerably. I just think Stumptown is an absolute gift.
Okay, okay.
People, I'm old enough to have been going to Cheltenham when this used to be a handicap. And people think, oh, when it changed conditions race, it brought the class to the top. When it was a handicap, the class came to the top too. Balthazar King was an absolute certainty when he used to run in this as a
What a
handicap.
horse, what a
I
horse.
think I think Stumptown's the same thing. I think he's absolutely unbeatable. We got Keith Donoghue, that's worth £7 around this track. Stumptown is the only horse in this field who could possibly have won a Velka Pardubice. He's got so much class. And I looked at the rest of the cross country and I watched Favre de Champdu give them weight and a beating. And I thought, if you can't get to Favre de Champdu, even though I'll admit he's improved this season, but if those horses can't get to him, there's nothing else to be afraid of. And I think Stumptown is miles better than Favre de Champdu. Desert Moor House is an 11-year-old. He's never been to Cheltenham before. I couldn't be having him on my mind. I think Stumptown is a God-given certainty, and so I'm more than happy to take 5 to 2, regardless of the weight.
There you go. What you got to say about that, Jamie? Nothing? Liam, what's next for you?
Next
I'm not
on
saying
my
nothing.
list.
I'm only pulling your leg, mate.
I know that.
Next on my list, mate, was Munsif, but to avoid boredom.
Was it actually? Was it really?
Was that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
was all over Saratoga, but like Adam suggested, I think everyone's staring at the green and gold, where potentially the winner is in plain sight behind. Went very close a few years ago, didn't he, Charles Burns? I'm hoping I jumped on Jamie's bandwagon, so I'm hoping that this year he does get the winner. However, I'm going to leave him alone. I'm going to throw in a bit of a flyer, Joe,
Go on,
just
then, let's do it.
for those
Mm.
viewing. I've been looking at the Grand Annual, have been keeping an eye on the ground. As sentimental as it would be just to go back in on Jazzy Matty, given the fact I was so strong on him last season. But there is another one in here who ran, I think it was at the October meeting, and he just keeps catching my eye. Relieved of duties for Gordon Elliott and Rob Corr. He ran at the Cheltenham meeting, finishing second, but behind Alnidam of Ollie Murphy's. It was when Country Mile belted pretty much every fence, and Country Mile was on everybody's lips for this race. Then he got injured. He was out for the season. He was obviously a long-term fancy of mine anyhow. But he ran on really strongly after giving a pretty patient ride that day. He's then subsequently turned up twice on heavy going, which I think he just despises. He's finished last of 4 and then
Mhm.
last of 5. So on the bare form, you wouldn't find it overly attractive. However, I'm just not sure whether he's been completely honestly lined up for this. Now he is entered for the plate and I think the Jack Richards as well. But at 33 to 1, given that he's shown a bit of course form, he progressed through that race pretty well. I'm going to throw him in, mate, for the avoidance of complete and utter boredom for everybody viewing him, rather than me just saying Munsif again. But Munsif was on my list, so if anybody's having a bet after this, I think I know what it will be.
Munsiff's going to be backed into 2-1, I think, then at this rate. But cool. Okay. Munsiff, though, pretty unanimous across the board with the three lads. So definitely do take note of that. My number three is going to come in the per temps. I've been let down, like I said, by active authority. It looks like he's now going to go to the Martin Pipe. And there's plenty of contenders in this per temps. But the one for me that has to stand out is Say Different for Sam Thomas. Now, obviously, in the per temps, you usually want horses that haven't shown their hand yet. Now, even though Say Difference comes in here on the back of 4 straight victories, he has sluiced home in these events and shown like just serious class. He's been going up the weights quickly. He's been finding the rise no problem at all, and he's been winning off a fast pace, a slow pace. It just hasn't mattered to him whatsoever. So at the moment, he's on a mark of 131. He did start this run off a mark of 92, but since then he bolted up by 8 lengths on his first start after 300 days. He backed it up by winning at Newbury over 3 miles, half a furlong, looking like he'd only just joined the race. He just has to be thrown in. 8-1, short enough, but I'd be real surprised if this fella's out of the first 4. So I will take my chance, and it'll be the shortest price for me in this series. Okay, Liam, we've got 2 to go. Who is next on your list?
Yeah, I'm going to come around to the Coral Cup. There's 2 in here that I really like, but I think that the mare is probably going to go for the mare's race. Otherwise, if I knew that she was coming here, she'd be number 1 on my list. So just a mention for Feet of a Dancer, who I
Okay.
think is a fantastic horse.
Yeah, you like her, don't you?
Nicky Henderson's got a great record in this race. And Jinko Blue has got a fair few pounds on his chase mark. He ran a decent race in behind Cabral de Matan. I think it was a New Year's Day meeting or perhaps Trials Day. Now, he doesn't hurdle anywhere near as well as he jumps a fence, to be perfectly honest. He can get into the bottom of one, but he's got some engine. The fact that he's got about half a stone up his sleeve, and given the fact that Henderson's got a great record in this, of course, he had the winner with that JP mare, didn't he, a few years ago, Dame de Compagnie, and won it prior to that as well. I do think this Jinko Blue's got a right engine, and I was quite taken by that reappearance and the fact that they've reverted in 2 hurdles. As I say, he might kick a few of them down, but as long as he gets over them, his engine might come out of trouble. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this horse, and as I say, especially with Connections record in it. So my second best bet, I suppose, in the handicaps is going to be Jinko Blue in the Coral Cup.
Perfect. Nice one, Liam. Liam, we've got 2 to go. Who is next on your list? You were sweet enough on Stumptown. What's next up?
So next one up is obvious. It is obvious, but I think you need to have the horse on side, and that's in the plate, and that's Madara for the Skeltons. This horse is a great example of where you can think outside the box. Sophie Leach
Okay.
claimed him from an Autoy claimer for 25 grand, and he's more than repaid that ever since. We obviously all remember him winning at the DRF in 2024. He was second off of this mile 140 in the December Gold Cup. Missed a bit of time, but I loved his run at Kempton last time. I spent a lot of time looking at data and sectional times and speeds. He's another horse who I don't think Harry Skelton really was overly bothered what happened at Kempton. But what I did look at was the run out speed, which is the speed taken 2 seconds after a horse has crossed the line. His was the best in the race, 30.83 miles an hour, 7% better than anything else. It's one of the fastest run out speeds compared to the opposition that I've seen at Kempton all season. He had loads left in the tank, could easily have won if he'd wanted to, I think. I think they've campaigned him entirely with this race in mind. We know he handles Cheltenham. 2.5 mile trip will be perfect. He's going to get a nice ride from Harry Skelton. I know it's obvious, but I just looked through the plate and I thought there's not that many here with that much in hand. We've got the Jack Richards race. There's not so much danger of bumping into too many novices. And I think of his current mark, it's impossible to see him out the frame all the time. You're getting your money back for an each way bet. It looks a good bet to me.
Yeah, no, fully agree. You can't argue with that. Like you said, Adam, we just want winners at the end of the day, and he certainly looks like he's on the radar to be close. Jamie?
Yeah, mine's in the Martin Pipe, the second best. Joe, to be honest with you, there's loads in this. Obviously, I put up the Passing Wife, Active Authority. Obviously, is a pound higher than last year behind Woodhue. Then you have the Python on. Obviously, he's going to be now favourite for 8-1. But I'm going to put up a horse from Fergal O'Brien.
Oh, that's
Wrenn
brave.
at the DRF, and I think she's way overpriced at 25-1, and she's off a mark of 126. She's gonna get off. Is she gonna get in off a low weight? And she was so eye-catching at the DRF off bad ground. It showed gal.
Mm.
She's 25 to 1 each way for the Martin Pie. I think she's not going to go off that price on the day. I think she's probably the second best handicap horse in Britain. That's just me when it comes to Martin Pie. Um, look, a Python obviously is well handicapped, but her race the last day, obviously she's been around the new course. She was second the last day. I can't remember the name of the horse, but she's been around the new course. And this is new course, obviously in the Martin Pie. She was third in the DRF off very bad ground. I think the better the ground, the better her chance. And she's still off a marker 126, 25 to 1 each way, non runner no bet or whatever it is the terms are. She's well overpriced. Look, active authority is in there, obviously. Rock Dino, passing wife, they all turn up. But I think she's overpriced at 25 to 1. So show gal for me, 25 to each one in the Martin Pipe.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Jamie. Liam, have I had three from you so far?
4.
Had four from you.
Yeah.
I hope
On
so.
to the
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Well, it's my go
You're
next.
one,
I'm
Joe.
sorry, gents. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take tentatively take Adam on there in the plate because my theory was quite similar in the sense there's not a big amount of depth in this race with regards to horses necessarily looking unexposed. One that could still be slightly ahead of the handicapper and a bit of form that probably doesn't want to be ignored as much as most people sometimes indicate is that form with Jaguar on trials day. Now we only beat him by a head over the 2.5 mile trip on the new course. I don't mind. I don't mind the fact at all that he's going to be running on the old course this time. It shouldn't make any sort of difference to him. And he only got given £4 for beating Jaguar. So even though if you're on Jaguar, you can feel a little bit disappointed. I think the form still stacks up really nicely for Donica. He may not necessarily be a horse that's absolutely thrown in, but he is a horse that's still slightly on the up for sort of quiet connections. Nothing wrong with the old course. A repeat performance shouldn't see him too far away, albeit, like we said, not necessarily thrown in potentially like Madara is, like Adam said there. But I can't see Donica being too far away. I mean, it may actually be a case as well that, quieter connections and owners may be factored into this price because he's probably got credentials to be 8-9 to 1, really, rather than the 16-20 to 1 that's currently on offer. So I'll take a chance on Donica being good enough on what his mark is currently to still get really competitive.
He'd be in good company, I think, Joe, with previous winners. Now, one of you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the last 6 winners, they all won at Cheltenham previously earlier in the season.
I
So
can't think of who we've had, but we've had like
Well,
Seddon,
Shake 'em up, Harry, Seddon, Paul
yeah.
Cody, the Shunter, Simply the Best.
Spencer, yeah, yeah. But what's interesting in a sense without looking at that sort of form, Donica is definitely a horse that's like Seddon or like Shake 'em Up Harry. Not like tactically versatile horses with this big turn of foot that is proper out and out gallopers. I just think this course will suit him ideally. Like, I just don't see how he's not at least going to run to his mark despite that £4 rise. It's one of those. It's not
Mm.
like you're trying to find a horse with speed yet. With Jaguar, they're quite willing to send him up to the ultimate at 3 mile 2 off the back of that. Like so, really interesting either way. Okay, we've got one more each. Let's start with you then, Liam.
I'm going to dive into the county, and I'm going to keep the faith with Hello Neighbour.
Oh,
It's his
okay.
entry. We know that he's coming here. He is off marker 148, which would be a little bit stiff based on prior winners. I am hoping, though, that Owen Staples is put on board. I think I mentioned when talking about this horse the fact that when Gavin Cromwell and Owen Staples team up, you could back them blind to a
Yeah, you
£1.
did.
You would have made over 40 quid. So even a yard that's having such a tough season, still managing to find winners or at least
Yeah, yeah.
place this really talented young lad on the right ones at the right time.
Mm.
So it's obviously the jockey itself is not the sole angle in. He ran a good race. They finished in a bit of a bunch, didn't they? In the Triumph, he then got closer when finishing third at Punchestown at the back end of last season. He's just been put away really until the turn of the year. Then he's had 2 quiet runs over the winter, and I think potentially is one that's going to be lined up for this. So I'm hoping that Hello Neighbour will potentially have Owen Staples on board and can run a real big one in the county.
And I assume in that is that your strongest selection then, being the number one, Liam, or have you not really done it in any order?
It would be also a little bit being a little bit price sensitive because he's one of the biggest
Mm.
prices of the lot as well. I did start toying with the likes of a Paydanom in the Martin Pipe.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just trying to be a bit punchy with prices. But,
Yes, fair enough.
but yeah, be between him and Jinko Blue in the Coral Cup.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Adam, number one, what's the bit of gold you've got for us this year?
Yeah, this one annoyingly has two entries in the Jack Richards and the plate, but I think they'll look at the plate and they'll decide that they want to run in the Jack Richards instead. I've been watching McGlory all season, and McGlory looks to me like the JP McManus top up the pension fund type of bet. He beat Stormheart in a handicap hurdle at the DRF in 2025. He's 3-1 favourite for an 18-run handicap hurdle that day. So when the money comes, it really comes. Mark Walsh has done a brilliant job getting this horse handicapped, four really quiet rides. The Racing Post describe him as never nearer when he was fourth behind Another Way at Down Royal last time. I don't know if never near as accurate or whether it should apply to absolutely flying at the finish, just had no chance of.
Yeah, yeah.
Either way, the sectional time show ran the final two furlongs in 30.55 seconds. That was the fastest time. Finished really well, galloped round the bend. His Irish mark's 130. He's only got £3 for the BHA for that, so he's up to 133. If he sneaks in at the bottom of the weights for the Jack Richards, I could really see this being an I know the way you're thinking job, where he gets absolutely smashed off the boards. I think whichever race he runs in, I'm going to back him in. Whichever race he runs in, I think he'll go off favourite. I think he's just incredibly well handicapped. I think there's probably a stone in hand. And for the application of cash, I'd be shocked if this horse doesn't improve considerably.
I love that with the application of cash. Fantastic. McClory there for Adam. Jamie, who's your number one then, please?
I think you know what my number one is, Joe. It's in the per temps. It's for Dan Skelton. I backed to the 16s, 20s. He's 7-1 favourite now for the per temps. I'm going on the best qualifier I thought all year. Mash Antu, Electric Mass on. He was third. Obviously, what was the name of the Long Draw was the name of the Murphy horse that we all kind of like. Look, he's been running a race with Kitty Joe of the Hobbs. Look, a lot of people are putting up Indy Var Blue now for the Coral Cup. He was in that race the last day on St. Stephen's Day, Boxing Day, behind Indy
Mm.
Var Blue, out the back of the television. Dan Skelton goes, "Oh, I don't know if he stays 3 miles and all that." Yeah, he does stay 3 miles. We all know that. He's been dropped 2 pounds, 2 pounds from 137 to 135. He's 7-1 favourite for a reason. I think he's the handicap bet of the whole meeting, and it's Supreme US for the per times for me.
Perfect. Nice one, Jamie. Okay, and my finale is a horse that I actually put up in our pre-weight sort of episode, and really annoyingly, I was scrolling through YouTube Shorts a couple of days ago, and it came up with Tom Siegel from Pricewise. They said, "Oh, and the horse I'm interested in is Ask Brewster." I was like, "Can't believe you've done me like that." So but his price is still held. Ask Brewster at 50 to 1 in the ultimate. Look, I've already made my case about this horse, but I think you can make a really big fair one too. If you look at his form from his last four starts, he won at Chepstow, he won at Cheltenham, he went back to Chepstow on firm ground and won. And then on his latest start, he was chucked into that race at Sandown behind O'Connell, the 3.5 miler. There was sort of hung jewelry, Rivers Corner, loads of proper Dower stayers in the race. But Sandown was never gonna suit his sort of type of running style. But the thing is, he comes into this race off a mark of 128. He's got serious Cheltenham form, serious Chepstow form. And when you look at the ultimate this year, you haven't got too many horses that necessarily look thrown in. Whereas Ask Brewster off 128, I could see him going from the front, and I don't think he's going to be for catching. So I think they've got a really good opportunity here for Evan Williams to chuck Ask Brewster in at 50 to 1. I'm going to have to chuck him up on my odds checker column as well before that price goes, because I will kick myself if I let Tom Seagal go and take that one and he wins without me having a penny on. So Ask Brewster for me in the ultimate at 50s is my number one for the handicaps. And just go around again for the finale. Adam, yours was McClory.
McGlory is the number one, definitely.
Jamie,
Supreme US in the per times, yeah.
Liam,
Hello, neighbour in the county.
and Ask Brewster in the ultimate. Okay,
Just
job. Yes.
Sorry, Joe. I was just going to say, just out of interest, has anybody got a worst favourite in any of the handicaps? The one that is absolutely shocking price.
Jericho to Repeta.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll give you
I'm all right, Adam.
Jericho de
Yeah, I'll get
Repene.
on my high horse. I don't think Jericho de Repene has the brains to pull off a hand.
Agreed. Agreed.
I,
He's got
I, I think that it will take a masterful ride. I assume Derek O'Connor is going to take the ride, but I
yeah,
think it will
absolutely.
take a moment of genius to get that horse to win. I think people are thinking, I know the way you're thinking, but Jericho de Repene has no chance of ever even running in a Gold Cup, let alone winning one. I don't think there should be any comparison between the two at all. So I'll be more than happy to take him on.
There we are.
Look,
Lay the handicaps.
yeah, look, I'd agree. Not really a massive fan of the horse, and I said I sort of knew about him when he first came over, and I saw him on the gallops, and I was like, oh, this horse is going to be bloody brilliant. Turns out he's not bloody brilliant at all, is he? He's a bit of a nutter. But okay, right. Anything else, gents, or job done?
And that.
All good.
Cool. Right. Thanks everyone that's tuned in once again. We are going to be back again tomorrow with our top 5 graded best bets for the China Festival as well. Thanks, Liam. Thanks, Jamie. Adam, as always, thank you so much for giving us your time. Don't even need to tell everyone where they can find you. You're here, there, and everywhere now as well. But we really appreciate it, Adam. Thanks very much.
No problem. You're welcome.
And thanks everyone that's tuned in, and we'll see you all real soon. Bye for now.